when I was a kid, very scared, terrified. I'd jump on the window ledges every time, a pet dog would come close. So that was me. But here I am, many years down the line, talking to you about a career in dog training. So, yeah. So that's the only building I knew, by the way, when I got out of school. That's how school looked, and now you've got so many different blocks, so many different things happening. So I have a lot of memories associated with school. I'll tell you a couple of stories. So I was the sports captain, 2012, and I also, thank you. I also played for the basketball team. And anyone on the basketball team here? Hi. So I played for the basketball team, and basketball played a very important role. I think something amazing about DPS is the fact that there's such a balance between academics and extracurriculars, and I would say that's one of the main reasons I'm here. It's shaped my personality in many ways. So basketball meant a lot to me, right, in school. There wouldn't be a single day that I could go without playing basketball. It was a social icebreaker for me. I was a very shy and introverted kid. I think some of my teachers would know that. And, basketball really helped me break the ice, helped me make friends, and helped me create some kind of a discipline, right, which is something I really needed to feel grounded. So basketball meant a lot. Another important thing in my school years was this dog named Jam. Alright, so there was this white street dog, she's no more, but she used to be in the bus parking area. And I used to feed her my lunch, which was usually bread, butter, jam. So I named her Jam. And through Jam, I ended up making a lot of friends. People would ask me, "Oh, do you feed that dog? What's that dog's name?" And I still remember, I would be with Jam in the bus stop, and a lot of people would huddle around him. I just feel good because I found it so hard to socialize with people otherwise, right? So I was that shy and introverted. So dogs have helped me right from the beginning. Now, I was in school, and then like most of you, how many of you know what you want to do in life? Good, nice. How many of you don't know what you want to do in life? Awesome, fantastic, give me a high five, that's exactly me. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do in life. So I decided to take the most common path, and what's that? Science engineering. So, in my family, that was the go-to. So I said, okay, I'm going to do engineering. Academics was never really an issue for me. Right? So I didn't have problems with academics. Sports was also there. So I didn't find it too hard to get a good seat in a good reputed engineering college. So I opted for mechanical engineering and not computer science engineering. Can anyone tell me why? Because I can't sit in front of the computer for nuts. Alright? So I said, okay, not computers for me, I'm going to choose mechanical engineering. No other reason, by the way. Not that I like machines or I like cars. So I did my mechanical engineering. And through my engineering years, of course, basketball kept me afloat because I played basketball in college as well. And, I did feed street dogs in the college campus as well. So things were pretty much the same. When I was in college, I learned a bunch of skills. Like most engineering students, you learn the logical kind of thinking, you learn problem solving, you learn critical thinking and things like that. But something just didn't feel right. So it was my second year. Oh, by the way, it was in my engineering years that I got my first dog, my very first dog. So I've been asking for a dog right from the time I was in school, but my parents thought I wasn't responsible enough. So it was only after the 12th grade, when I got into college, that this beautiful bundle of joy, this golden retriever named Cleo, came into my life. A lot of what I'm doing today is because of Cleo. So I'll talk to you a little more about that later. So I think it was my second year of college when I had a really bad injury on my knee. I had an ACL tear. It was a very high degree tear, and suddenly the doctor said, you people, yeah, hi, good morning. Yes. got a lot more energy than me. So, so I had this really bad injury, and when I got this injury, the doctors told me I couldn't play basketball. Right? So, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ round ತಿರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. She'll be right back. Okay, I know. Alright, so I got a really bad injury, and because of that, I couldn't play basketball for a year. This was devastating for me because it's the one thing that really helped me keep grounded. That 1 year was really bad. You know, I was on crutches. I was going to college. I had nothing to look forward to, and that's when I started spending a lot more time with Cleo. Although I did have a dog at home, I never really understood the responsibility because we had a dog walker coming home, right? And we had my dad loved dogs as well, so he would spend a lot of time with Cleo. I'd go to college, come back, had basketball practice. But it was in that 1 year that I really got to spend some quality time with Cleo, and it was really transformational. I always did find it difficult to wake up early in the morning, but since Cleo came, I would wake up every morning just to take her for that walk. You know, I would brush her every day. I would feed her. I was very actively involved in looking after her. And somewhere along the way, I grew very passionate about being with dogs. I always loved dogs, but the passion just grew. And at the same time, you know, I had a lot of people in my apartment looking for dog walkers. So I said, okay, I'm going to walk your dogs for free. And everyone loved that offer, so I started walking dogs for free. And of course, you know, as I was walking dogs, I would walk 2-3 dogs. And when I was taking them for a walk on one specific day, this one gentleman came up to me and he asked me, "Are those your dogs?" I said, no, they're not my dogs, I walk dogs. He said, okay, great, you're a dog walker. Why don't you walk dogs for our pet store? I said, okay, I don't mind, this sounds good. So by the way, I was walking dogs for free, and then my father thought that you shouldn't be doing things for free. So I started charging, and can any guesses how much I used to charge per month? 10 rupees, come on man. You're close. I used to charge 400 rupees a month, okay, which is a steal, right, for dog walking. So, and then this gentleman says, you know what, we can't pay you much though, we're just going to pay you 2,000 rupees in a month. I said, okay, I don't mind. So that's when we started dog walking. That's when I started making my first pocket money. So I was doing dog walking. I started to grow very interested in the dogs that I was walking, and I started doing a little bit of training with them as well. And that's when I decided to do a small course. Right? So I did a bunch of courses, but never did I think at that time that I was going to be pursuing dog training full time. Right? So I did a bunch of courses, and everything was good. And then the final year of engineering came, the 4th year of engineering. You know, you have to make more life decisions. You have to get placed into companies. And of course, you had all these big companies coming into our college campus. And I did get placed. I got placed into 2 MNCs, not going to name them. And I had good opportunities going ahead, but I did something secretly that no one knew about. I secretly applied to a university in California for canine studies. My dad didn't know about this. I think it was a month after I applied and I got the email back from them. I'd sent them a lot of entries, and they gave me a scholarship because they didn't have students from India. Like I said, this is fantastic. It's really nice that an engineer wants to do something different, and about all the work that I'd done. So at that point, I'd already started taking Cleo to a lot of nurseries and preschools, you know, because it was just an opportunity that turned up, and I would never reject any opportunity. So they saw all of this and they said, we'll take you in, we'll give you a scholarship. My dad was furious because in his head, I was an engineer. I was going to work at so-and-so company. I'm going to get, you know, I'm going to earn so much and things are stable. So this was a shocker for my dad, you know, and my mom. And, you know, it took about a month or 2 just to convince him and say that I really want to do this. And I know I can make something work. And he agreed, probably because of the tantrum that I threw. And also probably because he thought that, let's give this guy a year. He'd probably realize after a year. So I went and I applied to this university. I got through. And you know, when you want to go and study in the US, you have to go give this interview at the US Embassy. So I went to the embassy, and this interviewer asked me, "You're an engineer. Why do you want to go abroad to study dog behavior?" And I said, "Because I love it, something I'm passionate about, and I want to bring it back to our country because it's pretty much not a big thing here." So I asked the interviewer, asked me these questions, I had no idea, and then a couple of days down the line, I realized my visa was rejected. I was totally distraught. I was broken because this was my only opportunity at making things happen. And then my dad said that it's okay, don't worry about it. You always have your job to fall back on. It's good that it happened this early. I said, okay, fine. So that was that. I was getting ready to join my 9 to 5 corporate job, which I didn't want. I didn't want that at all. So when this was happening, I would of course walk you and everything, and I happened to get into a discussion with the very same pet store owner that one slide. Yeah, so I happened to get into a discussion with the very same pet store owner about this, and he said, okay, I mean, if you wanted to start a pet store, I'm willing to partner with you, and you can just do that. And these words, resonated in my head. I came back and I told my dad, I don't want to do an engineering job, I want to run a pet store. Oh man, next shocker for my parents. They said, what are you saying? You want to run a pet store? I told them I'm not going to do it like a regular pet store. I'm going to make it different, I'm going to make it fun. And he was just like, no, this is not happening. So again, another 1 month, probably I would say, of convincing and being stubborn and holding on to what I wanted and putting in all the earnings. So in those 2 years, I earned a good amount of money training dogs, walking dogs, and I also had some money that my parents had put aside for my education. So I convinced my dad and said, you know what, I'm going to do this. Please let me do this for a year. If it doesn't work, I'll come back. And luckily, one of the companies that I had an offer for, I had done an internship there, and they said, you know what, we'll take you in the next year as well. We don't have a problem. So things were looking great. So I was really lucky, by the way, right? So things just played out beautifully. So my dad said, fine, 1 year. So we started the pet store, and that was the birth of the Urban Pet. So the Urban Pet was my very first venture. I had no experience in running a business, starting a business. My entire family, there's no one who's actually started a business, right? Most of them have been doing safe jobs, engineers, doctors, lawyers, corporates, what it's been. So this was a new world for me. So the Urban Pet wasn't just a pet store as I envisioned it. I didn't want it to be a store that just sold dog food and accessories. I wanted it to be something different. So the Urban Pet grew to become a multifunctional pet care center. Right? We had pet products, we had a veterinary clinic, we had a pet grooming center, we had dog training, and we had everything under the same roof. So we managed to get a lot of pet parents in, and this was around the time where there weren't as many pet stores, by the way. Last couple of years, you have so many things in the pet care field. The number of pet parents has really shot up in the last few years. So the Urban Pet was running really, really well. I learned a lot in my years at the Urban Pet. I had a lot of failures as well. When I got into the Urban Pet, I said I'm going to spend a lot of time with dogs. But little did I realize I had to spend a lot of time with dog owners. And it wasn't as pleasant as I thought, So I had to speak to a lot of people. I had to convince a lot of people. I had to take a lot of rejection. So those were tough years, but I did learn a lot about running a business. I also learned a lot about managing a team. In my basketball days, I knew everything about teamwork, but then somewhere I seem to have forgotten that, it became all about me, just training. I thought when I'm training dogs, it's all about me. I just need to be good at my craft, and that's about it. But now I'm managing a team, right? Different people from different places, and it was a challenge because to get through to them, to get them to work in a certain way was a real challenge, And sometimes things aren't always perfect, right? So learning to be flexible. So a lot of skills in the Urban Pet. I also learned to plan ahead, which is something I had no idea about. When I decided to start the Urban Pet, I was clueless. It was just out of the blue, right? So a lot of planning and all that stuff. And the urban pet also taught me something very important, that if I have a passion and I have the grit to go ahead with that passion, I can make it into a successful business. So it was the fourth year, the fifth year of the urban pet. The urban pet was very profitable. I'm really proud to say that we had an annual turnover of over 11 million, right? So we were doing really good, by the books. My dad was very happy. Oh God, he used to go to every wedding, and we have these family functions, and they asked, "Oh, what's your son doing?" Before he was quite shy. He finished engineering. He's thinking what to do. He would never say. I'd say, "Tell them I'm a dog trainer." No. He's a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. Okay, tell them I'm a dog trainer. No, never. So I can understand. But now he was really proud. He would be sharing my Facebook posts. He was sharing my Instagram posts. He became my #1 fan. My mom grew supportive. Because ultimately what it is for parents is they just want to see you doing good, right? And sometimes you will have to, go against them to convince them that you're capable of that. So this was one of those stories. Right? This is a couple of pictures from the urban pet, whatever I could get. I was traveling, by the way, so I just came back yesterday. So I put together whatever I could find. So there's a couple of pictures from there. Yeah, and the urban pet, I met a lot of clients. They became like family, because one thing when you work with dogs, I'll tell you something amazing, is that you get to see the best version of people. With dogs or animals in general, people just totally melt, and they show the most vulnerable, beautiful side of themselves, which we don't get to see in the hustle and bustle of the modern day world. So I got to see that, and a lot of people became like family because I got to know their dogs. And that's when the next dilemma hit. So when I was in the urban pet and I used to train dogs by the side, I also used to do a lot of sessions at schools, special education centers. Animal assisted therapy is something I specialize in. So we went to a lot of old age homes, schools, and when I used to do all of these sessions, and for one of these sessions I happened to train this white retriever you see outside named Sarah, and that's how I met my wife, by the way. So that's how I met my wife. And my wife is a nutritionist. My wife was terrified of dogs. So, when I went to meet Sarah, and we used to discuss and we used to talk, and that's when she told me that, "Why are you selling dog food?" I said, "Why not? Dogs need it." And that's when I started to understand that these packed foods that you see may not be the best thing for the dogs. Imagine having to have cereal every day. Anyone like cereal? Every day? Yes? Okay, mixed. So imagine having to have the same food every day, something coming out of a box. Oh man, you wouldn't like it. And now all of you are home, trust me, you want all the food outside, but once you step out of home, you want mom's food, right? So I was selling these, and it became very difficult for me to sell these, because I'm someone who got into this profession to help pet parents out of my passion for animals. So I'd have people coming to the store, and I would tell them, don't buy this, feed them your home food instead. And one day my partner, who was the other pet store owner who helped me get into this career, saw this and he said, "What are you doing? You're ruining business. You should be telling them to buy it, and you're actually convincing them not to." It's somewhere around that time that I realized that really, this may not be the thing for me. And although I really enjoyed it, and I've already got into my career of choice, I felt that there was a calling somewhere else. I really enjoyed spending time with dogs. I really enjoyed educating people about dogs. I really enjoyed, seeing that connect between people and dogs. And I really enjoyed sharing that to the world, not just to dog people, but also to everyone, because I think there's something very deeply spiritual about it. So that's when the switch happened. So that was the birth of Divine Dog. So 5 years, profitable business, I'm doing good. I'm doing fantastic. My parents are happy, and then the next bomb at my parents. I want to leave this. He said, "Oh God, what are you doing? You have a profitable business." See, the thing with dog training is very seasonal, right? I might have a lot of clients now. I might not have a couple of clients a few months down the line. So it's difficult to have a steady income. But with the pet store, we had a steady income. We were a profitable business. So my dad was, again, back to square one. What are you doing? And all of that. So again, I convinced him. It was a lot easier this time because he trusted me. And I said, I'm going to start something new. And that was the birth of Divine Dogs. What is Divine Dogs? It's not a store, for sure. It's not an establishment. It's more of an endeavor, right? We are trying to project the best version of dogs to people across the world. And we're showing how dogs can actually be used in more ways than just one. So we do basic training, which is something you all know about. We do advanced dog training, which is the cool stuff which you might have seen on YouTube. We do something called animal-assisted activity and animal-assisted therapy. So today, dogs are being used in a lot of abstract professions, from counseling, used by psychology professionals. It's also being used by medical practitioners. Dogs can sniff out cancer. How many of you know that? Yeah? Dogs have an incredibly powerful sense of smell. They can detect even the coronavirus before the equipment can. So there's a lot of studies, and I said, okay, let's go into this. And so that's really what we do in Divine Dogs. We explore a dog's potential to the fullest, and we try to project that amazing human-dog bond to the world. And we created a center. We have a Divine Dog Center. I've got 14 dogs of my own. If I have to really go into the intricacies of my story, there's so many little things. So I have 14 dogs, and we have this center that we started just for them, and now we take dogs that come in from the city, we train them. We have pet parents coming in. We are also the pioneer of nature walks. So we take pet parents and non-pet parents and their dogs into nature for long treks. It can be very therapeutic. We do a lot of activities like this. We go to schools, we go to old age homes, we go to corporates. We've been to a lot of corporates, and we do team building exercises. We do awareness programs, you name it, right? So that's really what Divine Dogs is. While I was, and just before starting this, I also managed to get an international accreditation in the work that I do, which really helps, because when you have that alongside your name, people can vouch for it that much more. And then you start, so then that allowed me to start training dogs not just here, in other countries as well. So currently I have a Dubai residency as well. So I do go there once in 6 months because my in-laws live there. And so whenever I go there, I train dogs there, I train dogs here. I have clients in the US. I'm also very proud to tell you that the highest certification that a dog can receive, a pet dog can receive in the US, it's called the AKC Canine Good Citizen, right? A lot of my clients have that in the US. So that's really helped spread the word, because of which now we have clients in the US, we've got clients in the Netherlands. Thank you so much. We have clients, of course, we have clients in India, we have clients where else we have clients? We have clients in the US, we have clients in Canada, so a bunch of places like that. So that was good, right? So now here I am, I've really gone up in my career, and it was just fantastic. Right? So basically I got 45 minutes to speak to you, right? So there's a lot of stuff I'm trying to fit in here. But what I'm trying to tell you is there's been such an evolution in all these years. I passed out 2012, right? So that's 13 years back. When I passed out, I had absolutely no idea what I'm going to do. And this whole concept of following your passion, I didn't know, right? But if basketball taught me one thing, it is to always do something that you're really excited about, right? When I couldn't play basketball anymore in the middle of college, I think Vandana ma'am just told me that, you were looking all muscular and big a couple of years back. What happened to you? I guess I stopped working out and I stopped playing basketball, but I would really like to start playing again, because a lot of my teammates are still playing. So when at that point of time, I had no idea what following a passion meant, but I just knew to follow my excitement at each moment. So every day basketball meant something to me, so I would play basketball. When basketball was out, dogs meant something to me, so I would make sure I spent time with dogs. At every moment, it is important that you follow your excitement, whatever it may be. It could be something as simple as drawing on your notebook, because it's these little things you never really know when you have that big break, right? And what kind of a break it can be. So, takeaways from what I just spoke. Number one, follow your passion. But when I say follow your passion, you don't have to try really hard to make a passion out of something. You could be just like me, having no idea what your passion is. Right? You just know you really like something, do it. Make sure you do it all the time. Skills are transferable. What that means is, I did my mechanical engineering, right? And to the common eye, you would think, oh man, you wasted 4 years of your life doing engineering. If you wanted to do this, you could have started volunteering in shelters and doing some other kind of work. But that's not the truth. If I am here today, being the behaviorist or even the entrepreneur that I am, a lot of it is to do with the kind of education that I got. Right? I realized that the skills that I got in engineering, the logical thinking, the problem solving skills, are playing a very important role today. Today I work with dogs having severe behavioral issues. Right? When I say behavioral issues, we have dogs with aggression, with trauma, with fear. Right? And when you want to repair that, it is problem solving. The dog can't speak. Right? So when you want to get to the root of it, you have to do a lot of investigation. And I would say that's really something that's helped me go ahead in this career, because we have a lot of dog trainers today. A lot of people start as a part-time profession. But if I could make it full-time, it's because of the skill set that I got in engineering. And also the skill set that I got here in school. You know, I remember the first time I had to speak on stage was in my 12th grade, right, when I became the sports captain. I knew all about sports, but I knew nothing about being a captain, to be honest, right? But as I started to speak on stage, I started to speak to people, I grew in confidence. Third, embrace the unknown. You never know what's waiting for you on the other side, right? So at every opportunity you get to try something new, explore something new, give it a thought, right? Don't just write it off. Don't think that, oh man, I can't get anywhere with this. If it excites you even slightly, go for it, all right? My wife put that point there, which is why it looks a little off. So AI, right? I do want to talk about artificial intelligence because we've been integrating. We've started something called Sarah AI. That's Sarah, right? We're trying to build an AI assistant for pet parents, because there's no denying it. AI is going to creep into every career out there. So rather than looking at it as an impediment, which is what seems to be happening now, people are worried about losing jobs. If you can learn to use AI, you're going to go really ahead. So right now we're working on building courses, educational content using AI. We want to create a very interactive experience for pet parents so we can actually help them from across the globe, right? Using AI. So that's something in the works. And you guys are just, budding students. You have so many opportunities ahead of you, so just thought I'd put that there, right? You make sure you explore AI. Now, why was this path right for me? For me, there's always this battle between the logical and the illogical side inside of us. Have you felt that? No? Yeah? Okay. Logical, because, it's all about structure. You want to make sure things are in order. You want to make sure there's a plan. But there's also this illogical side, right? You just want to kind of, just do something. Just let it be. I always had this battle. For me, I would say the illogical side took over at some point, right? Because for me, it was a lot about fulfillment. Because the paycheck is important. Please don't get me wrong. It's really, really important that you have a stable paycheck so that you can support yourself and you can do what you like. But along the way, for me, it was about fulfillment, right? Which is why I switched from an engineering job to a pet store, and why I switched from a pet store to a profession in dog behavior. So, I think keep in mind that as you go ahead, and of course, you guys are going to be earning a lot, you're going to be doing really well in the world, make sure you feel fulfilled, because that will help you sustain in the long term. Secondly, about making an impact. It means a lot to me that I'm able to stand here, talk to you, answer you if you have questions, and interact with people. It gives me a sense of purpose. This is also coming back to Cleo, the dog that really got me to where I am today. She would come with me to schools, and I saw the impact that she had on people's life. She would bring smiles, she would bring joy everywhere she went. And even today, as I speak to you, I'd like to imagine that she's here with me in spirit, right? Because a lot of what I'm saying is words of Cleo, if she could speak. So I'd like to think, right? Because Cleo was all about bringing people together, just spreading the joys, spreading awareness. That's really what Cleo stood for. So making an impact. The third, helping people. As I mentioned earlier, I see the best versions of people with their dogs, and helping them gives me a great sense of gratitude. I've always liked to help. I've been kind, sometimes thought of as overly kind, too giving, but I found a profession a niche where that actually comes into handy. So that's that. And again, by my wife. She was going to come to that, but then she had some other work. From sports captain to good house husband, of course. Like, I do a lot of cooking now. I'm also quite good at, So, through the lockdown, I became quite well versed in the household skills. So I've become a good cook. I'm a good chef now. So that also is a good skill set to have. Guys, especially, I don't think, early on in Shadi.com and all, you had to be an engineer. I think today, now you have to be a cook. Wives want good food. Jokes aside, so that's us. I met her through Sarah, and honestly, it's been transformational because she's also responsible for a lot of decisions that I've made in life. And today, she is my co-partner at Divine Dogs. I also am a partner at another business, by the way. She's a nutritionist. She runs a biscuit and cookie manufacturing unit. So we make milk-based cookies. So I'm also a partner in that. So my mechanical engineering came in handy. You see? So never planned for that. But yeah, so right now we're running successful businesses. We're doing good. We're doing what we love. And most importantly, we have an opportunity like this to share all of this with you. So, I couldn't have asked for anything else. Coming back to my roots, I truly owe it to this school. I owe it to this place, the wonderful teachers. It's the memories that I have about this place. I never, thought about these things earlier. But as I walk in, I can just recollect all these amazing moments. And it's truly shaped me into the person that I am, and I'm very grateful. You guys are going to really miss your school years, so enjoy it while it lasts, and thank you. I hope I didn't bore you too much. Any questions, guys? If you have any questions, please fire away.
Yeah, so sir, this question is for you as well as ma'am.
Call me Karthik.
Okay, Karthik.
Makes me feel old. Joking.
So both of you were engineers and you were doing great in your life.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask, what point in your life did you know for sure you didn't want to be an engineer? What was that turning point? When did you know that, you guys are entrepreneurs now, when did you know for sure that engineering is not what you wanted to do and entrepreneurship is what you wanted?
It's a good question. I really am not able to pinpoint that exact time where I knew this, but I would say that in my second year of engineering, when I had that injury, it was really an eye-opener for me. Because until that point, it didn't matter so much, because I had basketball as an anchor. But when I had the injury and I couldn't play the sport anymore, come, Sarah, come here. Yeah, so I really had no idea. I think it was around the second year of engineering where I stopped playing basketball and I started to spend a lot of time with dogs. You see, you hear all these talks and inspirational speeches on YouTube, and it always seems like they have a very clear-cut plan. But what I want to tell you is it's usually not that defined, right? What you need to do is just be open to it, right? So for me, I had no other choices apart from engineering. One, because of the conservative background that I did come from. And secondly, my mind wasn't open to so many other things like it is, I think, for a lot of you today, right? So it's okay. It's really okay if you don't know what to do. But at some point of time, midway through the engineering, I just felt like, oh man, I'm really not enjoying it. And if I could do something, I'd rather do something else that, I enjoy and want to do that. Because you can keep it up in the long term. I work 7 days a week now, right? Work doesn't feel like work. It's an utter joy to wake up every morning, to go and spend time with these beautiful souls and do what I do. So I hope that answered your question. Okay. Ma'am, do we have time or am I?
So you're like a dog lover, and my question is, what do you think of the Supreme Court ruling in Delhi about street dogs?
Amazing. Thank you so much. As a matter of fact, we just started a YouTube channel, by the way, and you guys check it out. We've spoken about this in great detail. Now, here's what I think, right? I've been doing a lot of community sessions for a lot of apartments where a similar problem exists, Got a lot of community dogs, people feeding the dogs, and then you've got people who are scared of dogs saying that these dogs need to be relocated, and it becomes a big conflict. If you ask me, the solution is to have a middle ground. See, what's happening right now, the Supreme Court ruling, if you ask me, has been a little blunt for the reason that it's not been thought out. Now, if they decide to relocate all the dogs, what kind of dogs do you think they're going to catch? That's okay, but the dogs that are out there around human civilization are usually the ones that are quite friendly. The dogs they're not going to be able to catch are the ones with rabies, are the ones that are very scared. Now, if you take dogs out of the picture and you neuter them, what do you think is going to happen with the remaining? They're going to start breeding. That's how nature works. So you're going to have a large inflow of dogs which don't have the ideal temperament to be around people. Right? So it is not a blanket solution that we should approach. Now, I understand there are also people who are very scared of dogs, and the fear is real. I've seen it. If people have anyone been bitten by a dog? Wow, okay. Oh, that's a lot. So, if there's someone who's been bitten by a dog, it's really some kind of trauma, and it's very difficult to get over. So to tell them that dog won't do anything is not the right stance. The middle ground here is, on one side, we need to relocate dogs that need to be relocated. So dogs have to be looked at. See, just like humans, dogs have very specific personalities, right? Based on their upbringing, based on their genetics. There are some dogs that could move away from the street and go into a shelter and maybe even be placed into a home where their very characteristic is going to be beneficial. Let's say I took a dog that's chasing vehicles and biting people and put them in an estate that needed to be guarded. Great, right? So it's programs like this. These things are already existent abroad, but here we're trying to approach it with a very blanket solution. And the other side of it is, there are some dogs that would actually do well on the street, right? So it's important to evaluate and just let them be, because these dogs have formed strong emotional relationships with the people. But it also becomes the responsibility of those people to ensure that these dogs are, one, vaccinated, two, sterilized, and third, that awareness is created in their community about the dogs, about how to be around the dogs. What do you do if a dog comes running up towards you if you're scared of dogs? Run. You need to run, right? You should be running. Why aren't you running? Okay, just test it. One thing you should never do if a dog ever comes running up to you is run. Alright? Because for a dog, the instinct, the prey drive tends to kick in. And a lot of times the dog is not biting because they want to bite you. It becomes a threatening situation. So things you need to remember if you ever are scared of dogs and you see dogs around you, avoid eye contact. Alright? Don't run. Be calm. If a dog comes towards you, stay still, close your eyes if you're scared and just stand like a tree. I guarantee you the dog will pass. If you're on a vehicle, stop the vehicle at once. The dog will stop. Right? And if there is a dog around and you're feeling a little scared, don't show the front of your body to the dog, show the side. Because this can be very intimidating in the dog world. Dogs go by body language. right? So there's another beautiful thing you can learn from dogs, by the way, non-verbal communication, which matters a lot when you're actually speaking to people, which you don't realize. You may be subconsciously doing these little things, but you don't know why you're doing. How many of you are shaking your feet right now? Ah, nice. Me too. I'd expect a shake or tapping. How many of you are fidgeting your fingers? Finger fidgeters. So we study this in great detail, by the way, in animal behavior, because that's just how the animal communicates, non-verbal signals, right? So it's important to create some awareness to people on these subjects, because I think that will go a great way. With regards to the judgment, I would say, that the Supreme Court has made, there is a lot of conflict and protest happening now, but what I would like to see is that a middle ground is reached, where the dogs that need to be relocated get relocated into the right kind of shelters. We also don't have the right infrastructure, unfortunately. We need a lot of investors and people to come forward to create the right kind of shelters. In Thailand, they started to build animal shelters with the sole purpose of breaking it down a year down the line. You know why? Because they said, we're going to start the shelter today, and a year down the line, we're going to make sure that every dog that comes in gets adopted. Now that's a good plan, because in these modern times, we're not far away from the time that every household is going to have a dog, right? The need for companionship is very high, and there's really something magical that these guys can bring into a house. So this may be part of the solution, so it's probably worth pondering. Answers you?
Hello. It's really quite learning and encouraging to hear you. I have one small question.
Hi, your time now.
Yeah. Being with the understanding dog behavior for so many years, can you share any instance of any spiritual learning being with dogs, understanding their behavior, or any kind of learning which you can share with these children at this age? It will be a great learning for them.
Absolutely. No, it's very nice that you should ask that. I don't go into the spiritual side usually, because it's usually woof for a lot of people. But for me, when you're with an animal that cannot speak, it doesn't have to be a dog, and you truly build a connection with them, you are actually building a connection with yourself, right? Because for a lot of animals, they're actually reflections. If you really spend time with an animal, you're actually spending time with yourself, which is something most of us are not comfortable with, to be honest. If you really look at it, a lot of us have not become comfortable with ourselves. We're always wanting to please, we're wanting to be something that the world wants us to be. But spending time with an animal helps you connect with that inner self, right? Some of the most deepest and most profound discoveries that I've had in my life are because of dogs. When I spend time with dogs and nature, it's really like connecting with my inner self. It is my meditation in some way, right? So I will say dogs are spiritual, which is the reason why we named our venture Divine Dogs, right? Because we want to explore the divinity that lies inside each dog. And a dog is capable of reflecting, and that divinity actually lies within you guys as well, right? It's there inside every life. But the dog's just going to help you see it, right? So for those who like dogs, they can actually be a bridge into the spiritual world if you really want. But coming back to more materialistic things, I think dogs have just been really good luck for me. Wherever I go, being the shy, introverted person that I was, they make it easy to have conversation with people. They also make me feel a little more accepted, even though I may have been accepted in the first place. But they help you feel a little accepted. They make you feel included. And that's the beautiful thing. The unconditional love that they give is truly beyond words. Does that answer your question, ma'am? Anything else, guys? Anything at all? Even if you have...
Hello.
Hi.
Sir, my very shy, my very introverted friend here.
Hi, high five.
She's crazy about dogs, and she wanted to know if you offer internships, unpaid, paid, everything, and how she could get into some business like this.
Fantastic. No, that's a good question. I don't have formal internships as of now. My suggestion to anyone who wants to get into this kind of a profession is just start to spend a lot of time with dogs. You need to volunteer at rescues, at shelters. You have a lot of opportunities today. You can take my number at the end of this and reach out. I'll tell you shelters you can do. Personally, we are starting a program. We do teach people dog behavior, not just pet parents, but also people who want to get into this profession. We've also started the first diploma in India on animal-assisted therapy. This is the very first. We are doing it with Surana College. It's India's first PG diploma on animal-assisted therapy for psychology students. So, you know, the scope of this profession is quite vast. You can bring dogs into anything, right? It might seem a little shocking to you, but it is possible. So, you can reach out to me and I will give you some guidance. As of internships, not really at the moment, but more than happy to help you out and guide you. Yeah? We have time, or am I? Last question, okay?
Okay. Is there anything you would do differently? If you're your 12th grade self again, you're just starting your degree again, is there anything you would do differently? Because as you said, you kept hopping from one thing to another.
Absolutely. If you asked me this 4 or 5 years back, I would say yes. So today I say no. Right? And that's really the beautiful thing here. No regrets. There's nothing I'd rather do because I realized that everything that I did has shaped me into who I am or what I'm doing now. Right? So I don't look back that way. That's just me. But 5 years back, if you would have asked me the same question, I would have said that, I really wish that I started that dog walking and training a lot earlier. So I could have convinced my parents, I could have gotten in this profession earlier, but for what? Everything happens at a particular time for a reason. I was really lucky, by the way. I caught the wave of dog training because dog training was a blue-collar job, right? Wouldn't pay much. Just someone who'd come home, take your dog out, do training and drop them back. Sir, ivattu sit helkotte, down no, go back, it's done. And then everyone's like, okay, pay the dog trainer, it's done. But it was just around the time when dogs started to play a bigger role into people's lives. Became family members. So people wanted something more. That training wasn't enough. That training didn't work because the dog's living in the house, dogs trying to eat from your table, the dog's trying to, pull things out of your closet. So people needed to understand, why is he doing this? I'm telling him in English, don't do it. Right? So people needed a translator. So that's really when, what I'm doing started to pick up. I assume that if I started this earlier, I would have got demotivated. One small story, because it's related to this. When I used to walk dogs and I just started training dogs in college, I went through the pet store and I trained this one dog. I went and I told him, sir, I've taught him all of this. Please practice this. Alright, I'll come back a couple of days from now. And I came back and he said, I didn't have time, you do it. He did this 2-3 times. I came home and I started crying, I kid you not. Because I said, what is this? I'm trying so hard. And that's when I actually realized that it's not, dog training isn't really about training the dog. It's about people training as well. And that's when I realized, even though I'm introverted, for the sake of the dog, I had to start conversing better with people. So then I used to tell people that, listen, if I'm training your dog, you're going to have to be there the entire time. Right? And I'm going to be teaching you. And slowly the world opened up to that, So it's all about timing, but no regrets. Nothing I'd rather do. Everything happened for a reason. Everything happened perfectly.